Okay, so yes, I'm like really surprised to see so many people in summertime, because Lithuanians, says yeah, any Europeans are typically spending the summer in different places, but it's great to see you all here, and it's great to see guests from all over Europe coming here. So thank you for coming. I think it's very important for Lithuanian community, and since sure, like the moment you need it. Since the topic for today is thinking global, and I just wanted to have like a very short presentation on why it is important for Lithuanians to be global day one. Because I think one of the like fundamental problems for a lot of Lithuanian startups, and well, definitely in the Nextury Fund we see a lot of them, if not all, is sometimes trying to think small, trying to believe that you could build a business just for Lithuania, trying to build something just for this market and believe it is going to last. So I just wanted to share some of the ideas of why I both believe it's important to think global and it's possible to think global in Lithuania. So, but I just wanted to start with the old Chinese wisdom. It's a martial art wisdom. There's nothing new there, but I think it's very applicable to the Lithuanian startup community and the whole country as a whole. And it says, basically, don't try to fight the enemy on his strongest side. Identify your own strongest side and identify your enemy's weakest side and then hit hard. So what I'm trying to say here is that I see too many Lithuanians trying to basically fight in the space and the areas where it's difficult to fight, because there is Silicon Valley, there is Netherlands, who are like really tough negotiators. And when we're building a GetJar sales team, our toughest customers actually were from Netherlands. Companies like Nibmus and eBuddy, I'm pretty sure you know those guys. Like they were like the toughest negotiators at all. And only after like my VP sales came in and said I had an experience of selling for a Dutch company, I said sure, like come in because I know you can sell, because this is like the toughest possible negotiators on the planet. I guess back from like 19th century or something. But Lithuanians are not strong at that, but they are strong at something else. So just some ideas like why I believe upfront it's both possible and important to think global. So number one, it's not a secret. But unless you really put it together and start to believe that, it's just difficult to really do something global. So Lithuania is a tiny market. I see many Lithuanians not having large ambitions and saying, hey, if I can support my family and a couple of my employees, I think I've done well. And the problem is the bigger you get the appetite, the more it grows. So Lithuania is just not capable of supporting a large company. I think it's good in a way, because upfront it sends your mind that either you built a global business or you don't exist. And I think this is why Lithuanians upfront have a lot of possibilities to think global. But number one is very few business models actually could be supported in a small country like Lithuania. So either you build global or it might not work for you. Now, something that like fewer people understand is that specifically in the startup, in the internet, in the web global market, the world is flat. And the startup model is reminding the Olympic Games where the winner takes all. If you look at the, apparently there's been a lot of social networks being, or attempts to be built in Lithuania, but Facebook took it all. Google took it all. Apple took it all. So the further we go, the more global the world becomes, and the more it's clear that there is no such thing as a local player. So typically, in many verticals, many areas, either if you win globally, or you don't exist. So it's not like you just, if you answer it, hey, yes, number one is not applicable because, I can survive, if I can support my family, then the number two issue for you to think is how long you could run a local company, because a global player will come, the Ubers of the world, the Facebooks of the world, and apparently given the resources and given the global reach, it's hard to see and to believe that a local player could survive. So that's yet another reason why upfront you try to set a very ambitious goal, saying, hey, I'm going to be number one in the world, and I'm just trying to be global because that's what I do, because it's too risky to be small. Now, interesting thing is going global nowadays is actually much easier than anybody would think. Much easier. Like typically, even at the beginning of the business, when I was talking to the like physical business guys, like the retail or the supermarkets or the hotels, and say, hey, I have like customers like in 46 countries on the planet. They go, like, wow, like you get like 5 people and you work with like 64 countries or 46, like whatever. I say, sure, like, yeah. And imagine like a retail business, like Maxim or like hotels, covering 46 countries. It's like 10 years journey. Like you have to build them country by country, and that doesn't exist in the frictionless digital world. Like any game developer, probably could say, yes, I have customers in like 200 countries, because it's easy to reach them. So the one message is like, why bother going local? Because all the modern tools, think app stores, think internet, think all the virtual offices, and then virtual labor if you need in different countries, services like Elance, etc. The world has prepared everything for you to essentially run like any global operation from any place on the planet. So like, why bother going local at all? Interestingly, if you, now I sometimes think as an investor, wearing investor hats, so I'm sometimes thinking of businesses and startups in terms of like risk and success and the payout and ROI, etc. So interestingly, when you observe startups that build either local or global businesses, you realize that the amount of effort, the challenges that you run through, more or less the same. Like, you hire like similar people, you develop similar marketing strategy, you develop a similar product. So the effort that you put into being a local or a global company is more or less the same. But the payout apparently is very different. If you could build like an Uber for Lithuania, that will be much less valuable than if you could build like a global Uber. So it's clear. So yet another like thinking is, why bother going local? And I would go even further. Not I would just say that going global is similar in terms of effort. I would say that it's actually sometimes and very often easier to go global. Now think of that. If you really just declare global ambitions, saying, hey, I want to be the Uber for the planet, period, then a lot of resources simply unlock to you. A guy from Netherlands coming here and says, hey, here's the accelerator available. My gut feeling is that a Lithuanian submitted to you like a kebab place idea just for Vilnius. Like highly unlikely he will get your support, right? Just my wild guess. But if a startup from Lithuania, the same one say, hey, I have this like the next gen sharing economy or the Bitcoin thing, you could say, well, yeah, it might work. Although it's the same guy sitting in the same Lithuania, probably spending the same amount of effort, probably actually less, because to build a kebab place in Lithuania, you have to have like a government permission for food and everything, and it will take a year, like really. So building an Uber sometimes is actually easier. So think accelerators, think venture funding. Again, I have worked with many venture funds in many places on the planet, Asia to Silicon Valley. None of them, they are allergic to work local. The moment you tell them, hey, we're building this like little Lithuania, like copy and cat of like Amazon or whatever, because they don't have a presence here, like forget it. It just doesn't happen. Think top talent. Again, something I mentioned to you, and something which is very important is attracting the top people. Having your management team, really best of class. Pulling people from Amazons, from Yahoo. If you want to have a sales guy, it has to be Dutch. That's at least my personal opinion. So pulling the team together is just impossible if you reach out to the VP Yahoo in Silicon Valley and say, hey, I'm building this little Lithuanian like search engine. It's like, who? Like what? But if you say, hey, I have an ambition of building a world-class new service, you could get those resources. So the list is endless. The funding, environment, the support, the help, the mentors, the people, the management, and et cetera, et cetera. So in many instances, I would go further and say building global is actually easier than building a local thing. And again, just to give you like a little like joke from back from like my previous life, my startup days. At some point, as you might know, we were developing like one of the first app stores on the planet, and at the point we had like 100,000 or so applications. We received a letter from Lithuanian inspection saying, hey, you're a Lithuanian company and you're providing all those like apps. By the Lithuanian law, you have to supply Lithuanian translations for every app. because the product has to come with an instruction which has to be Lithuanian, and then we were like puzzled because we were like, honestly, we were looking for a way to optimize the global platform for a small country, and we couldn't, because just like there's like no power in the world, no resources in the world to keep up to date with all those translations. So we ended up like a real interface. Well, we hired like 3 Lithuanian guys, and they just like submitted all day long, monitored, we submitted and updated application descriptions and just try to keep up, and it never worked. So we say like, no, sorry, but fine. We just flip to London, and then we expand from there, because in London at least English is local language. So. So we didn't risk that somebody will come and say, hey, applications are not in English. But yeah, in that specific case, actually we struggled to optimize the product for Lithuanian locality, and just in illustrations that sometimes it's just like much easier. Just pick English, pick a big ambition, have a definitely leverage all the resources and tools that are available, and then just go for global. Just some random ideas, but apparently. Just as I mentioned on this wisdom, there is a lot of things that are very unique in Lithuania that you could take advantage of. And I will not speak about fast internet, cheap labor costs, etc., because it's been well outspoken. But I may just pick up a couple which after a year of working with Lithuanian startups, I believe are really important. So a couple of them. Like one, I will probably clip here. One is, startups never exist in vacuum. They never do. They always touch some existing businesses. They touch banks, they touch insurance, they touch supermarkets, they touch restaurants, merchants, etc., etc. Very difficult to find a startup that doesn't touch anything. And now the definite advantage that we've seen, observed, and it's like for real in Lithuanian startups, is forming those partnerships with big players. Think banks, insurance, processors, etc., is much easier in Lithuania because it's a small market. So just as an example, in a couple of weeks, we will be announcing trials for one of the startups that actually taps into credit card processing process and runs loyalty, discounts, deals, etc. in the cloud, which are all attached to your credit card. So no longer you have to carry like 20 or 50 discount cards for every shop. Like everything could be linked to your credit card. But believe it or not, that required like quite a sophisticated, technical solution was 50 lines of code. That's it. But the clearance with the banking system, with the regulatory system, with the processors, data acquirers, etc., took a year in Lithuania. But the funny thing, we had a conversation with one of the guys from Groupon, who's actually joining that startup from Silicon Valley to a Lithuanian startup as advisor, a guy called Michael Shim. He used to be VP marketing Groupon. So he said that Groupon has been trying to solve that, to plug Groupon deals into credit cards for 2 years. Groupon, 10 billion market cap when they came out on IPO. And they couldn't, because America is too big. And even Groupon walking into Bank of America and telling, hey, we want to plug into credit card transactions, that did not work. So Lithuania is small. We've done that in just a year. When we had this call with Groupon, he said, like, wow, I'm like amazed. I'm just amazed. And again, think beyond that. Think of insurance guys, banking guys, retail, merchants, etc., etc. And the second one, which I definitely will again highlight, is instead of just going wide and thinking of any possible idea, I would highly suggest focusing on few verticals that luckily have been developed in Lithuania to the definitely global advantage. So banking, fintech. Barclays. There is a reason why Barclays is running 1,500 people here in Lithuania. Again, just to give you hinting out a little bit, there is like a whole Silicon Valley crowd of investors looking at Lithuania for Bitcoin technologies. I'm pretty sure that many of you have heard of that. That's a new age digital cryptocurrency. And they look at Lithuania as a fintech talent / regulatory place where actually they could innovate. Because running something like that in big countries like US is just very difficult. Think of e-city government. When people from Silicon Valley come here and pay for parking with an app, they go crazy. They say, like, why isn't that available in Silicon Valley? Why the heck in San Francisco, like the heart of Silicon Valley, you still have to have like a terrible process? You have to have those 25-cent coins. That's the most dominant parking way of paying for parking. Or you have to link to credit card to an app that identifies, takes a scan code of this like little place, and it's crazy. So e-government, e-city has done so in Lithuania, I know, for like years. Mobile, apparently it's hot and it's well developed. Gaming is becoming one of the Lithuanian areas. As you know, a couple of like big Russian and Eastern European gaming companies have moved to Lithuania. So right now, we have a lot of people. So I think it's emerging. So I would highly suggest not to look at all areas, identify something where Lithuania is strong, and just shoot for that. So again, unfortunately, I had to be short today, but hopefully it took like 1 or 2 lessons. So pleasure being here. Thank you.